This evening I will be reviewing the Ronald Clement article on Old Testament prophecy found within Isaiah, Oracles to Canon. The canonization of Isaiah is quite complex in its nature. Furthermore, how the chapters came together within the agreed-upon scroll is also fascinating. Scholar Blenkinsop, who we have read in this course, touches on this with the work of the Qumran community and Jewish sectarianism. Author Ronald Clement further expands this work, but in the form of redactional criticism. Who are the exact authors other than Isaiah is not as of an important question for Clement, but rather what themes are important and what sources did the multiple authors draw from themselves. The book of Isaiah in its origin, due to the most popular scroll 1QIS superscript 2, being complete and not found in separate places. Despite the complete nature of the scroll, many critical scholars of the text are united in their research by the understanding that it is not written by a single author. This theory gained credibility in the 1600s by the philosopher B. Spinoza and commentator Ibn Ezra. It gained wider acceptance in the 1700s, though it did not gain serious credibility or momentum until Bernhard Doom's work in 1892. The main scholarly viewpoints after 1892 posited there was a first, second, and third Isaiah in authorship, but their scholarly opinion fragmented again because of the strong scholarly agreement that Isaiah 56 through 66 does not even have a relationship with second Isaiah writing or with each other. Nearly 420 years later, modern scholars are opposing that there are even more authors and complexities within the text. There is also strong socio-historical evidence that Isaiah existed in 8th century BC Jerusalem. Much of the text appears to have events that are outside of this time period. The strong consensus is that there is evidence of a second Isaiah or several other writers. There are fewer consensuses that Isaiah 56 through 66 has a different author than second Isaiah. There have been a few notable scholars who have challenged the multiple author theory claimed by most scholars. The single author scholars note that theme and stylistic connections are grounds enough for their stance. Those who disagree are not concerned about these matters, but rather the nature of prophecy and historical connections in the text. Ronald E. Clement clarifies one other major point to begin with to mark clearly what he finds to be at the center of the Isaiah authorship debate. While some scholars, notably B.S. Childs, think that the book of Isaiah's fragmented structure is a canonization issue, Clement argues it is a theological issue regarding textual redaction and criticism because of the entirety of the original form of the Isaiah complete Qumran scroll mentioned earlier. Clement further critiques Child's approach based on material evidence. He also claims that adding on does not substantiate its final structure. Certain chapters by large scholarly consensus take place before one another chronologically, mainly such as chapters 24 through 27, which are commonly regarded as the latest chapters in the book historically. While some factors such as physical and historical evidence are important to Clement, he seeks to explore more than these two factors within this work. This is further critique besides the aforementioned evidence. Clement hopes to explore the literary elements that made up Isaiah as it is now. Furthermore, regarding the second Isaiah authorship, are there broader themes that connect these works? Is there enough background that points them to be related at all? Finally, the prophecy within them and what they mean must be critiqued. Old Testament texts are so brazenly complex in their nature that often their meanings are found within mysterious signs and symbols. This often leads interpreters into various stances on their fulfillment. Modern interpretations to reconstruct the story and life of times of this text often do more harm than good and are futile. This presupposes that editors had very little to do with the text, instead of what Clement argues for. Clement believes a redactional nature must be applied to the text focused on its original authors. The authors of Isaiah 40 through 55 have two major themes: blindness and deafness, which preside over the text. A subset of these themes, such as election, is also developed. All of these terms are unprecedented based on the previous works of Isaiah chapters 1 through 39. The theme of election is especially surprising based on earlier prophecies within the text found in Isaiah 2:6, which states, "For thou God hast rejected thy people, the house of Jacob." These opposite opinions of fate of the Israelites represent a reversal of prophecies from God that seems unlikely coming from the Isaiah of 8th century Jerusalem. The final set of themes is explored within 2nd Isaiah. These themes revolve around witness, testimony, and teaching. The theme of witness is mentioned in Isaiah 43:10, 12, and 44:8. Its strongest presence is in Isaiah 55:4, which regards the nostalgic role of David among the nations. What is more intriguing is the use of the name of the prophet's son, Mahar-shalal-Hashbaz. This child's intended name is put on a tablet. It is speculated that this placement is to be taken as a call to Israel to be a witness to God's action. This interpretation of tablet prophecy may very well have interpretive relationship to Moses and covenantal relationship with Yahweh. The understanding of witness connects strongly to the previous two themes mentioned earlier, blindness and deafness. Isaiah 43:9 is a direct call to be a witness to the blind and the deaf that are described in the previous verse in Isaiah 43:8. In Isaiah 42:4 and 21, each of these point back to the testimony and teaching, for these are the intended meanings found in Isaiah 8:16 within the name Mahar-shalal-Hashbaz. Many interpreters describe the name as meaning testimony or teaching. Although another common understanding of these words is law, this understanding is not the most helpful. Instead, the meaning of the prophecy is to fulfill Yahweh's purpose by following God's action, not simply the law. Clement concludes with several points to consider about Isaiah, authorship, and prophecy. The coherent nature regarding the prophecies found in 2nd Isaiah have left some scholars to postulate that they were written in a book containing all of them far before the potential writing of 2nd Isaiah. Scholars such as Harman Bart credit this prophecy compilation formation taking place during the time of King Josiah, which was from 639 to 609 BC. The prophecies in 2nd Isaiah seem to be different yet distinctive from Isaiah 1 through 39 in their qualities. Uniquely, they are defined by a psalm-like and lyrical quality. Another perspective on the authorship in 2nd Isaiah is that this authorship was influenced by Jewish cultic prophets of the time. These prophets have vested interest in preserving Jewish legacy within prophetic writing. The very setting itself is on some of these later writings is to be questioned. It could be very likely that the location would not be Jerusalem, but rather Babylon. This aligns with scholarly work Patricia K. Tall has done in conducting regarding Isaiah 36 through 9, as well as Leslie J. Hopp's speculative conclusion on how King Ahaz made peace with the increasingly strong Babylonian army. Judah would have become a vassal state subservient to the Babylonians' will, and eventually be crushed and dispersed across many lands and cultures. While it is unlikely that some of the 2nd Isaiah writing took place in Babylon, as a setting, it is not accurate to strictly place the setting of the book there. The prophetic, strategic, and linguistic use of Zion is to be noted as an ode to the David tradition. This, Clement states, is a geographical or political and cultural examination, but is not the focus of his work. Rather, it is to examine the prophecy within the text. The fulfillment of these prophecies is distinct to the text, as other scholars we have read in this course have mentioned. The Isaiah text should be read within its own context and its prophecies to be understood first and foremost within the text itself. It is unlikely these texts were meant to proclaim the Christ. Blankenship especially believes this is true because of the numerous and similar roles of sacrificial figures that the Qumran scrolls had within them. It is important to note that Clement concludes that this is a redactional work he has done, but it is much different than the standard redactional criticism. This criticism looks differently at narratives, breaking them down into smaller sections. To reiterate, the key focus also is not exact narrative comparison. such as redaction criticism of the synoptic or four Gospels, but rather the examination of prophecies, chiefly how they were fulfilled and understood in their time. I have deeply enjoyed this reading as well as the work by Blenkinsop on Jewish sectarianism. I think it is a key point to understanding Isaiah's work. I am curious to ask you, as my fellow classmates, what sources and communities you think most influenced the Isaiah text. Also, did you know there were multiple Isaiah authors before taking this course?